Hey, brothers and sisters in Christ, it is your girl again, the Jesus Influencer, where I'm encouraging you, inspiring you, asking you to follow Jesus. Not me, but I would love if you would subscribe, like, and just keep it going in the algorithm. Today, I want to talk about something very personal to me. And I know I say it's personal all the time, but this is actually really, really personal. And I have not shared it in a long time. And I wanted to share it because I hope that it helps someone. And I'm sorry that I've held it in for so long, okay? So, the title: disappointment, let down, giving up on Jesus. So, spoiler alert, this might be a little bit too much for some people, but I want to go through this story with you guys, and I don't know if I can do it in parts. I don't know how I'm gonna get it done. It might be too long, whatever, but this is just a section of my life I want to share with you guys. We all know the scripture where God says, he said, I'll never leave you or forsake you. But I'll be honest, back when my husband kicked me out pregnant, I was definitely feeling forsaken. Not because he kicked me out, and I'll be honest, because you know how I tell y'all all the time, I'm cocky in Jesus. It was like, how could I be worshiping God who allowed this to happen to me? Now, I know all you guys have had situations where you've been like, no, not me, but it was me. And it wasn't just a kick out, because see, I'm kind of tough. I'm a pretty tough chick, so I can take something. So it just wasn't the I'm kicking you out pregnant. By pregnant, I mean 40 weeks. I think I was 40. My friend is gone. 40 weeks. I was going on 41 weeks. I actually had to be induced. I had literally I couldn't come back to the house. I had literally 24 hours. I was locked outside of my home, out of our home. And I just, at that time, could not even process the fact that it was happening to me, because I couldn't understand what would cause somebody to do this. Like, you hear the people excuses like, I just don't want to be with you no more. Well, that's easy. You're kind of married, so I don't understand that. That doesn't really work that way. But it was way more than him. The beef was with Jesus. I'll be honest. I had some beef with Jesus. Because if we were checking some boxes, I'll be honest, I was doing children ministry. I was fully dedicated to the Lord. I mean, I was going to church every day, but let me think, what was the only day I wasn't going to church? I think I was going to church every day. I didn't even tell the churches I was going to. I'm going to even tell y'all just so y'all that's wild. I'm trying to see if I can remember. I think I wasn't going to church on Monday. Tuesday, I think I was going to Victory Fusion. Wednesday, it was First Baptist Atlanta. I might have been Tuesday. Yeah, First Baptist Atlanta. I think on Wednesday or Thursday, it was Word of Faith. Friday it was Life Center. Back to Victory on Saturday and Sunday. I love Victory. That was my church. So that is where I was attending church. So I was staying in church. So I'm checking the box. I'm like, I'm staying in church. I'm married. I just got saved. I want y'all to understand, I had just got saved. I was a babe in the faith, and I could not understand what I did to deserve what came my way. Now, I didn't know the Bible that well at that point, and I'm going through the book, and I'm trying to figure out what I did to undo it so everything can be undone. But I didn't really have the time to get it all done, because I was getting kicked out. And not only was I getting kicked out, but at the time, I literally had nowhere to go. And trust me, we get into autism, I just want you guys to understand the picture. So I'm kicked out at the hospital, have the baby, get home with the baby, because we end up getting a home, and I'm not going to that testimony right now. I have to be sound to share things with people. So when I'm ready, I share, because that's a horrible story. I don't wish that on anybody. So I get home with the baby, and the baby is colicky. Yes, my poo-poo, the one I talk about all the time, the one who's jumping in my videos. Very colicky. He's crying and crying and crying. And what I want to tell y'all is, I know disappointment from God. I know that hope deferred makes the heart hard, because it did it to me. I know wanting to just give up completely. But it's interesting because at that time, Jesus was the only thing I had because I had nothing else. So I refused to give him up because that's all I had. And I'm not trying to give y'all a fake story. I'm about to give y'all a true story. Because whatever it is, I'm literally in my living room. I'm like, I'm going to tell them and I'm going to give them the story. During those days that my son was very colicky and I didn't know the reason why, I didn't know anything about autism or anything at that time, I was so sad. Guys, I want you to understand why I was so upset with God. I was so sad because, see, when I was pregnant, I was sad. So surely, Lord, I won't be sad after I have the baby. But no, I was sad. I cried so much when I was pregnant that I blamed my son's autism on my sadness being pregnant. Because I used to be alone all the time, so bad to the point that I had a friend who be like, you sure you married? Because he ain't never home. I was so sad because I couldn't understand what I did to deserve the treatment that I had. Of abandonment, because that's what it is, it's abandonment. And I just couldn't understand. So I cried the whole time. So when I had my son, I cried. And guess what, you guys? So then he cried. When he got, all he did was cry. Cry. And I would call my aunt because I'd be so frustrated as a mom because during this time, it's like the pandemic. At that point, my father was sick with cancer. And my mom was taking care of my dad. So she couldn't come down. So I didn't have any family. I didn't have anybody. The other side of the family was like, well, pretty much like, whatever, girl, you on your own. That's the choice you made. I don't know when I made that choice, but whatever. That's the choice I made, whatever. So I remember just being pretty much in the house with my son during COVID. He's sick, not even sick, he's just crying. I don't know what's going on. We didn't call the doctors, everything, and it is what it is. Found out that the milk he had, that wasn't the milk he's supposed to be having, right? All right. Switched to milk, he's still crying. I used to call my aunt and we would just pray. And her prayers would be that the Lord would give me the strength to endure. No, I ain't really like that prayer. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't like that prayer. I didn't like the prayer, but it's what I needed. Time passed by. Of course, I'm getting, as time passed by, he's getting older. So at this point now, I told you I'm not going to tell y'all about that relationship. I'm not ready. It is too much, too crazy. I ain't doing it. Not today. So as the child gets older, he's about like 1 or 2, and I have him in school. I remember taking him to school, and I just remember start noticing he was a little bit different. I had a niece, and my niece would be like talking a mile a minute, but girls be talking. And my son was not even able to say like full sentences, a little bit of sentences. I remember just wanting to hear him say mama. He was completely nonverbal. He could not speak at all. And I remember even his dad was like, his niece or someone was talking, and I guess we both were just like, what's going on? So he was like, his dad was like, I think he might need speech or something. Like, I was like, you know what? I'm thinking the same thing. So let's go ahead and see about speech. So I look up my resources. I find speech. Start taking him to speech, right? I'm going to tell you, I've been through it. So I'm going to speech. I'm like, okay, fine. The dad's going to come. We're going to talk about what happened. And y'all know them commercials where little kids be waiting for their mommy and daddy and they never come? Them commercials. That's literally how I was waiting for his father to come and see him. And he didn't come. So I FaceTimed him. Like, where you at? Like, this our son. And I think that was the moment I realized, baby girl, you're gonna have to fight this one. And I just remember that the speech therapist was talking to me, and my mom was like, Lord, what did I do to deserve this? Because at this point, I'm looking at, I had a absent husband who did not treat me good, and I have a child who cannot speak. But I follow Jesus Christ, so this is wow. I'm following you, but TT over there, busted wide open, loving husband and baby who could speak. So my mind could not process, honestly, why I was going through what I was going through, right? And I'm just being honest of how I felt, okay? I don't know about you guys lie, I'm not gonna lie. And I said, what did I do? I get home and I said, I'm gonna have to pray. Literally, I get the baby, and I mean, that baby been praying since been praying, baby. I ain't gonna lie, that baby filled with the Holy Spirit. I'm not even lying. Get the baby, I'm praying, I'm in the baby room, because, you know, that's my poo-poo. I love my poo-poo, speaking or not speaking. And I'm praying, I'm like, Lord, what's going on? And I ain't hear nothing. So then I was like, okay, fine. Maybe he needs some more socialization, you know? Pandemic is simmered down. Now I'm like, I'm gonna put him in school. So I'm putting him in school, right? Let dad know, hey, he going to school, this is what we're gonna do. This is school he's going to. We had like some type of court order. I can't even remember because I didn't have orders after orders, and them orders don't be getting fulfilled. So I'm just gonna say we be having orders. And I'm not even trying to be funny. I'm keeping it 100 with y'all today. And so I said, wait a minute. He rather go here, he gonna start talking to people. Because that's what they said he needed, socialization, right? So I put him in school. I think it might have been like maybe a month or two. He's the cutest little poo-poo. And then I had a teacher come up to me, and the teacher said, I think he was like one or two. No, he had to be like 2, getting ready to go on 3. She said, I think that you should do early intervention because I think your son's autistic. Now, keep in mind, teachers are not supposed to say that. But I'm thankful that she did. And I said, autistic? At the time, I only knew what I thought what autism was. So when she told me, I was like, nah, he ain't autistic. He looked me straight in my eyeball because that's my ignorance. I don't know there's a spectrum because that's not my reality. So you don't know when it's not your reality. So I was like, my son ain't no autistic. I remember leaving my son. I was like, how dare she? I had a big attitude. But it didn't stop the fact that I needed to research this for myself. I'm not one of those mamas that say whatever. I'm going to go home and I'm going to actually research this for myself. So I go home. I research for myself. I call his dad. I said, hey, you know, today this is some news that I got that they said perhaps this is it. What do you think? He said, no, I ain't never run that little boy. His dad like, whatever, you know. No, I ain't never run that little boy. He's like, he just need to like just keep being around people and keep being around me. I said, okay. I hung up that phone and kept doing some research. I don't know. That did not sound like a resolution. So I started doing some more research, and I said, let me call this place where they do early intervention. If you live in Georgia, I'm going to see if I can put some of these resources for you because I really want you guys to get it. So I said, well, let me do it. My son ended up getting some early intervention. And they told me I need to take him to a psychologist. His doctor said that he displays things that would suggest that he's autistic. Now, keep in mind, I'm telling y'all where I'm coming from, okay? Not me, Lord. You tell me my husband kicks me out? I have no job. I was homeless. I had to find a place to live. I slept on my esthetician's futon days before I gave birth to my son. And now you're going to tell me my son's autistic? And my thoughts, I'm being honest, y'all, like I said, what type of loving God would do this to their child? Period. Y'all can lie if y'all want to. I'm going to keep it straight 100. I said, what type of loving God would do that to their daughter? He can't love me. There's no way. So I'm sitting in my son's room. And he's crying because he would cry. And believe it or not, I believe that he cried because I cried my whole pregnancy. Being honest, I cried my whole pregnancy. He's the happiest kid if you know him. And I thank God for that because I cried that whole pregnancy, Lord. And I said, not only is my son on the spectrum, no way, God, you can't love me. There's no way possible. I remember I was late for an appointment. And you know, when you have a baby, you got to get the baby. And I'm by myself. I did everything by myself because my parents couldn't be there. And, you know, at the beginning, you might have some friends, stuff to help you, but then you're doing it by yourself. And I just remember being like, okay, God, I got to make this appointment. This is a very important appointment. And I remember Elijah was crying and I couldn't find my phone. I couldn't find my keys. And he just wouldn't stop crying and crying. And my thing is when my son cries, I walk out the room. You gotta make sure the baby's safe though. You walk out the room and you take a moment and some people it might not work, but that was a wonders that my aunt taught me. Like, take a walk. You know what I'm saying? Like, walk it off. And I remember getting so mad, crying, and the baby crying, that I started crying. And I remember saying, God, you're nowhere and everywhere at the same time. I kid y'all not. My whole house got quiet, eerie quiet. Like, what? It was the type of quiet where you're waiting to hear a boom. The baby was even quiet. I find my keys, but not my phone. And that was on purpose. As I'm walking to the parking deck to get to my car, I heard God literally tell me, I'm in your skin, I'm in your clothes, he started telling me that everything that he's in. And keep in mind, I don't have my phone. The baby is no longer crying. I don't know what. The baby's not crying anymore. And he starts talking to me. The Lord started telling me that he never left me, never forsaken me, that he saw everything that happened to me. He told me, he said, your son was not a mistake, by no means necessary. And that he chose me to be his mother. And he knew I would do a good job to be his mother. First of all, I was terrified, I'll be honest with you. Because that voice, you know it's God. You're just like, what? You know, you always like, Lord, show me your face. Yeah, and then he let you hear his voice and you be like, ah. And you really do want to fall down and like just like, please don't like do something to me. And I remember I got in the car and the car was quiet the whole ride to the doctor. Let me tell you how good God was to me that day. Beautiful. I get to the doctor. After hearing the voice, because whatever it is in that voice, it's going to get you quiet real quick. You're either going to be scared, quiet, or quiet because you're like, oh my goodness, the glory of the Lord. Get to the doctor's office. I get there and my son's father's there with his mother because, you know, that's just great. Actually, I just really hope they get some help. But I get there and we're all in this room and it's very chaotic because the room's not that big. The reason why I said great because it's like the room is tiny. It's him, his mama, the doctor, the assistant. It was too many people in the room. We didn't need all that. But he might need support, so let the man get support and let's keep it pushing, whatever, the baby's here. And I remember it was so chaotic in that room. The doctor was trying to get notes. You got the grandma ask questions, the daddy ask questions. Mama just really just sitting there because I'm like, I kind of got all the answers. Y'all just ask me, but we could just do the foolery if you want to. Sitting here. And I remember the doctor said, what were the baby's first words?